So Antec's been on a bit of a roll lately with its latest case launches, with both the dual chamber C8 and the Flux Pro getting rave reviews across the media. Today we take a look at another new Antec case with support for up to eATX motherboards, including back connect, big graphics cards, multiple 360mm radiator installation, and it comes with 4 RGB fans pre-installed. But is the C7 as good as the C8 and the Flux Pro? Well, let's find out. So this is the new Antec C7. It's not a dual chamber case, but it does have wraparound front and side tempered glass. It's got a regular style ATX layout, so power supply and storage is installed at the bottom here, and then everything else, motherboard, cooling, graphics card, is installed above, with cable management around the other side. This is available currently in both black and white colour schemes, and you can pick it up from Scan in the UK. The white version is priced at about £130, and the black version is a little cheaper at around £120. The Antec C7 features a panoramic tempered glass front and side panel design with 45-degree beveled glass edges, as well as a vertical cooling method with a vented lower chamber and multi-directional intakes for bottom to top airflow, as well as support for the installation of up to 10 fans with 320mm reverse fans and 140mm regular fan pre-installed. It also includes support for installation of eATX motherboards, including back connect, huge graphics cards, dual 360mm radiators installed simultaneously, and great options for storage drive installation. So it's more of a tall and slim ATX tower or ATX mid-tower style, ideal for somebody that's got restricted footprint space on the desk. Front panel connectivity includes 2 USB 3.0 Type A ports, a single USB 3.2 Type C port, power, reset button, and 3.5mm audio jack. Getting inside the case is really easy. All the panels come off tool free. So this glass side panel, you just push it out from the top there, and that lifts out. On this white version, it's a completely clear tempered glass. The front I/O is located down at the bottom at the front of the case there, so it is more optimally placed for somebody having this on their desk rather than on the floor. Front glass also comes out tool free. Again, it just pushes out from the top and it lifts away. Just hold on those quick release pins, and again, this is a clear tempered glass. Right hand side panels also quick release. Just push it out from the back at the top, and then it unclips off the pins that hold it in place. You can see it's a plain steel panel, so there's no sound dampening material, but there is actually 2 large vents in there. One of the vents is obviously an intake for these fans, and the other vent is there maybe just to give some residual airflow to storage drives that are mounted around that right hand side. So it does come with some fans pre-installed. So there's 3 reverse blade Antec P12 120mm fans on that side mount, and then it has another 140mm Antec P14 PWM and RGB. They're all PWM and RGB fans. So you get 4 pre-installed fans. There's plenty of space for cooling and more fans in the case. Top panel, you push off from the back, just push it upwards. It's quite tight, but it releases pretty easily. Again, it's a steel panel. Quite rigid, this panel. It feels well built. The white coating and coverage on that is really good on this panel. You can also see there's a large vent on here too. It's kind of ultra fine style mesh, so it doesn't require an additional filter. A couple more panels can be removed tool free. So these down at the bottom of the power supply shroud, they also can be removed tool free, and you can see they're also vented panels, and they do come with dust filters built into them with ultrafine mesh. And then this piece at the front, that also can be removed easily. I guess they are easily removable for cleaning purposes, because this could act as an intake if you install fans on top of this power supply shroud. In terms of cooling support, at the top of the case you can install up to 3 120 or 2 140mm fans. You can also install radiators up there up to 360mm long, so that also includes a 280, 240, 140 or 120. Down this side mount here, this is just 120mm side mount, so it can accept 3 120mm fans or up to a 360mm radiator. To get your radiator installed, you do need to remove this little panel here, and then that panel will push out, but you also do have to remove this bottom fan. But if you're installing a radiator there, you'd have to remove all the fans anyway, so that's not a big deal. You can also install fans along the power supply shroud here, so you can install 3 120mm fans there or 2 140mm fans. At the back of the case, it's either a 120 or a 140mm fan, or a 120 radiator potentially could be installed there.
As a world-leading manufacturer, CyberPower PC UK expertly builds each PC with the largest range of parts available in the UK. We handle all your packages with care and ship them directly to you on next day delivery. Visit cyberpowersystem.co.uk.
In terms of motherboard support, you can install eATX motherboards in here up to 272mm. It also supports ATX, micro ATX, mini ITX board, and back connect, so ATX and micro ATX, such as MSI Project Zero and Asus BTF. Big graphics cards up to 450mm long are supported. If you install a standard thickness radiator in there, so 27mm radiator and fans, that shouldn't interfere with graphics card installation. It also supports up to 180mm tall CPU air coolers. As I say, you can see all the cutouts for back connect along the top, down the side, micro ATX cutouts for back connect there, and then the ATX cutouts. They also double up some of those, so these at the top and the bottom double up for cutouts for regular boards too. But Antec also put some cutouts on top of the power supply shroud for regular ATX boards. Those have rubber grommets in, and you also get a couple more bigger cutouts down the side of the motherboard tray with rubber grommets there for regular style non-back connect motherboards. The C7 does support vertical graphics card installation too. These 7 PCIe slots at the back just take out 4 screws, and you can rotate that completely to allow for the installation of a vertical mounted GPU. The back of the case is a pretty standard ATX mid-tower style layout, bit of a vent at the top, 120 or 140mm fan mount below that, rear motherboard I/O cutout, 7 PCIe slots there. You can either be vertically or horizontally orientated, and then at the bottom is the power supply mount, and it's one of those where you can undo a couple of thumb screws. They're actually quite tight from the factory, but you can undo them by hand, and then you take the bracket off, install your power supply to the bracket, and then the power supply inserts from the back there. It's slightly easier installing that way. This right hand side of the case is one of the neatest I've seen in a long time. There's a door that opens up here to expose cables and cable management. You can easily lift that off the hinges and remove it. It's got some rubbers where it catches into the actual chassis frame, so that should help with any vibration and noise. And then there's another door that opens at this side. This is for mounting hard drives and SSD drives. A couple of screws to remove first. One from the top and one from the bottom, and then that door hinges open like the other side and quite easily can be removed off the hinges. Again, it comes with the rubber mounts there for anti-vibration. On here you can install some storage drive, so you could potentially install 4 SSDs, so 2.5-inch drives on here, or you can install 2 3.5-inch hard drives. There is another drive cage underneath the power supply shroud, but it's a bit hidden away. On there you can install either a 2.5 or 3.5-inch drive. I'll actually show you how that comes out when I look at the floor. You can see all this side here is reserved for fans, so the 320mm reverse blade fans are mounted there, and that's quite close to the side panel, so you're not going to have any room for cable management here. But then this part is set back further for the back connections. Obviously that requires a bit more space around this side to get your connectors in and have enough space to the side panel. But you can also see round here there's plenty of cable management options with some eyelets up at the top, Velcro straps down this sort of main channel for cable management, more eyelets down this side and some along the bottom, so you can use zip ties or Velcro straps to neaten up your cable management all the way around the motherboard tray. Built into the case is a fan and RGB hub. It's got 6 PWM and 5V ARGB ports on that hub, so you can connect up the 4 fans that come with the case plus a couple more, so potentially you could connect an AIO and maybe some light strip or some additional fans. You can see even with this side kind of blocked off from access to the power supply shroud or underneath the power supply shroud, there should be enough space there to get in if you need to access the cables to a power supply. But there is obviously the other side of the case where the vents are removed, so you should have good access into cables, and if you're using a modular power supply and you need to connect cables afterwards. And it's ATX up to 210mm power supplies that are supported. So a quick look at the floor of the case. There's plastic feet on the floor. They're actually like 2 long channels of plastic that make up the feet. You can see that they have anti-vibration rubbers on all 4 of those feet. These can detach with a couple of screws. There's also a big dust filter on the floor that just slides out from the front and it is a plastic frame with a nylon dust filter. And with that dust filter removed, you can see the floor is quite open. It has a large vented section, and at the front here is that hard drive cage that I was talking about. So to get that out, you do have to remove a couple of screws, and with those screws out, it actually just falls out quite easily when you've got the case stood on its side. And you can see on there you can install either a 3.5 inch or 2.5 inch SSD drive. Accessories included with the C7 come inside this box. In here there's one of those plastic containers with all the hardware and screws sorted out into individual sections. It also comes with some anti-vibration rubber mounts for hard drives and some additional side panel clips for the case side panels, the one up here that hold the glass and the other side panels on. It also comes with a user guide, and there's another little bag with some zip ties and Velcro straps. The test system spec is an AMD Ryzen 7 7800X3D CPU. Motherboard is an ASRock X870 Steel Legend Wi-Fi. Graphics card is the Inno3D RTX 4080 Super X3 OC White. For memory, it's 64GB of G.Skill Ripjaws M5 RGB DDR5 6400 mega transfers per second. Storage is a 2TB Seagate CUDA 530 PCIe Gen 4 M.2 NVMe SSD. CPU cooler is an Antec Symphony 360 ARGB. It's a 360mm AIO liquid cooler. For the power supply, it's a Seasonic Focus ATX3 GX1080 Plus Gold fully modular PCIe 5 ready. Case fans used for testing are the stock Antec P12 and P14, so the three P12s with reverse blades on the side mount, and the P14 140mm fan exhaust on the rear of the case. I also did testing with and without power supply shroud fans added. So these are the Be Quiet Light Wings LX reverse blade 120mm fans.
If you're looking for a new chair, then definitely go and check out boolies.co.uk. They offer a whole host of gaming and office chairs that come in a variety of different finishes and different colours.
There really isn't much to mention about the installation process. It was really easy, straightforward. Alignment of everything like motherboard standoffs, screw mounts for radiators and fans, PCIe slots, everything like that was all perfect. With a 360mm AIO radiator installed at the top and just push fans. There's loads of space still at the top of the motherboard, so if you need to connect up the EPS power cables or some fan headers up here after the AIO is installed, you can do. That's a good thing because the top radiator and fan bracket, it's not removable. I would have liked to have seen a removable one in there, but it's not. But you still had that space up there anyway, so it's not such a problem. And cable management around the right-hand side, there's plenty of space there. There's a few pre-installed Velcro straps, all the pre-routed cables from the fans and the RGB hub. That's all done pretty well. You don't really have to do anything to neaten that up. Plenty of other places with eyelets for tying cables to using the included zip ties or the extra Velcro straps. And there's plenty of zip ties and Velcro straps included. So you can do a really good job of the cable management without having to add anything additional to what actually comes with the case. Let's look at the thermal performance. If you want to check out the full testing methodology, there's a written review page over at KitGuruTech. All the testing methodology is on there. For the thermal load, it's a combined Cinebench R23 and 3D Mark Speedway stress test run simultaneously for 30 minutes. We tested the C7 in several configurations using a top-mounted 360mm AIO, the stock fans plus an additional test with intake fans on the power supply shroud. In the default configuration without adding any additional intake fans, both the CPU and GPU temperatures are okay. GPU temperature at 45 degrees over ambient is perfect. However, the CPU temperature at 67 degrees over ambient is a few degrees higher than some other cases that we have used the 7800 X3D to test thermals with. There is a noticeable improvement in CPU temperature under load when removing the mesh top and side panels, which indicates that these ultrafine mesh panels may be restricting airflow a little more than normal since the CPU temperature drops by 4 degrees C. The best GPU temperature is when adding 320mm intake fans to the power supply shroud, but it only improves by 2 degrees C compared with the default configuration. So the additional cost of fans might outweigh the thermal and performance benefit. The stock case fans that are included with the C7 do a good job of keeping the system cool while still being quiet. At idle, the system is virtually silent. Under load, there is little in terms of noise change between the configurations that we tested. Even the higher noise output of 41 decibels is well within tolerable limits. So I quite like this case. It's really well built. All the panels that are removable are easy to remove and they're easy to install back to the case, and you get a real satisfying click into position when you reinstall the steel panels. And it's really easy to access the case with virtually all the panels being tool free. The shade of white between the different materials, so the steel and plastic, that's all good. It's really well matched. It's got good hardware support, big graphics cards, up to eATX motherboards, including back connect, are all supported. And the included fans are good for airflow and they run reasonably quiet. The only minor negatives I've got with the case, so these ultrafine mesh panels on the top and on this right hand side, the actual perforations, the diameter of the perforations seem a bit small, and I believe that is why the airflow is a bit restricted with those panels installed. As you saw in testing, CPU temperature dropped by 4 degrees by removing these panels, so obviously the airflow was improved without those installed, so maybe that's something that Antec can look at. Just a couple of other minor things. I would have liked to have seen a top removable radiator bracket. Yes, there is plenty of space between the radiator and the top of the motherboard, but if you were to run push-pull fans on a radiator up there, it would reduce that. And obviously removable bracket makes it easier just if you forget to connect anything up, or if you need to connect anything up to the top of the motherboard in the future. It's just a lot easier to undo a few screws and just lift the top of the case up and allow you access into there. And the only other thing is GPU support bracket or an anti-sag bracket. It would have been nice to have that integrated into the case. It is a useful feature, but there isn't one in this case. Other than those really small minor issues that I've got with the case, it is as a whole a really good case. And if you compare it to something that's similar like the Corsair IQ Link 3500X that comes with a similar amount of fans and an RGB hub, and it's this similar style with a mid-tower layout with front and side glass, this seems like better value, even with the more expensive white case at around 120, 130 pounds, much better value than something like that. So as a whole, it's a case that I like and it's one that I'd recommend. So that's the Antec C7. Let me know what you think of this case in the comments section. If you've enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to KitGuru. If you enjoy what we do here at KitGuru and you want to help support us, you could always head over to our store and pick up some of our merch, or you could even subscribe to our Patreon. And as always, if you want to catch up on all the in-depth technical reviews, head over to the website.